Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning, Rodney. How are you?
Coffee cup in hand is a good day. It's Monday.
Cup of water for me.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning,
Well, I have a bottle.
everyone. We are so glad you joined us today at the chat session on the This Way Network. This is our grand host, Rodney Allen Rippey, and I'm
Oh,
your co-host, Nina. And we've got a great topic today, but Rodney, I have a story I want to share with you first.
yes. You had a big weekend. Tell me about it.
Great weekend. This past weekend was my 50th high school reunion.
Get out of here. You didn't.
Old J.O. Johnson High School in Huntsville, Alabama. And if you're trying to do the math in your head, that makes me 67 years old. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way.
Hey, it's okay.
Yeah, but here's the story I want to tell you. As we were looking for our classmates to invite them to the reunion, we also decided we were going to look for our teachers and see if there were any of them still around that we could have. And you know what? We could not find them. And
Oh,
yes, it was so bad. It was the hardest thing in the world. We kept looking and looking and looking on Facebook, trying to locate some of them and looking. We even called the school district and said, hey, we're trying to find our former teachers to invite them to the reunion. Could you possibly help us? I said, we don't give out that information.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so, we thought we weren't going to find them. Well, the morning of the big program that we were
Mm-hmm.
having Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
I finally was able to locate, thanks to one of our other teachers who came to an event we had Friday night.
Uh-huh.
Four of our teachers came, but they were teachers who had taught electives. And
Yeah.
so, not all of us took the electives, but the teacher I was most wanting to find was our senior class sponsor, Mr. Engel. And yes, and we all had him because he taught American history and it was required for graduation. So we all
Mm.
knew him well, and we were all really wanting to find him, looking for him, had been hunting for him for the last 50 years. We wanted him at every reunion, but we couldn't seem to find him.
Right.
Lo and behold, he was still in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the teachers that came to the event Friday night gave me his contact information. I contacted him Saturday, and he came Saturday night to our program. And I wish you could have been there to see how many people lined up to tell him thank you for what he invested in us.
You know
And I
that.
was able to share a story with him. I'm sorry, I'm
Mm-hmm.
interrupting
No,
you.
go, no, go. I
No,
love it.
I was
Go ahead.
able to share a story with him about what he meant to me. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I had not only had him in high school, I had him back in junior high in eighth and
Wow.
ninth grade as my American history teacher. And he had come over with us to the new high school when
Mm-hmm.
we moved and stayed our teacher. But back in the eighth and ninth grade, I remember him leading a current events discussion on
Mm-hmm.
the Vietnam War.
Wow.
Very,
Okay.
very volatile topic at that time.
Yeah.
And he asked us, do you feel America should be involved in the Vietnam War? And of course,
Uh-huh.
we were young kids. We just spouted whatever the current opinion of the day was, which was basically no, we should not be involved in that war. We have no business being over there, sacrificing our blood and our lives. And after all, it's not like North Korea attacked us.
Right.
He asked us a question. He said, so if they had, would that make a difference in your opinion? And
Wow.
everybody was saying, well, yeah, of course. I mean, after all, think of
Mm-hmm.
Pearl Harbor. We were attacked then. We had to respond. But North Korea
Mm-hmm.
didn't attack us. And he said, well, actually, they did. They attacked one of our freighters and sunk
Right.
it. And
Well.
all of a sudden, the room went really quiet
Mm-hmm.
because we all realized, oh my, we didn't know what we were talking about. And our opinion may have been the same, even if we'd known our facts, but we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't ever know that for sure because we hadn't known our facts. And
Wow.
right then, I found myself thinking, I don't ever want to embrace an opinion until
Mhm.
I have learned as many of the facts as I can.
That
And that right there shaped the direction of my future and the way I thought and what I did. And even really why I'm even on this program now is
that's right.
because that's what I do now. So I was able to share that story with him, and he told me, you know, as educators, a lot of times we don't get to hear whether or not we made an impact.
That's
And he
right.
said, this has been really good for me. Thank you.
Wow. See, and that's
Yeah.
what it's all about. You want to make sure that you impact people's lives,
Mhm.
and that's what educators do. And so,
Yes. Yes.
and I have some really close colleagues who are LA Unified School District
Mhm.
teachers. LA Unified School District is the second largest school district in the country with over 650,000 kids here in LA Unified.
Mhm.
Big shout out to Titus Campos. He is the arts executive director over the whole arts branch. They just had a big, huge event, their big arts festival. And believe it or not, she's not listening, but I'm going to send her this link. Her name is Gina Hill. I'm still in contact with my art teacher from
Oh,
high school.
cool.
So yep.
Yeah.
So we chat on Facebook. So big shout out to Southeast Guilford and all the Falcons out there. I am a lifelong Falcon. So anyway, so I went from 7th grade through high school back in North Carolina. So a lot of people didn't know that being involved in the entertainment industry, my folks moved to North Carolina. So I went to high school from 7th grade to graduation, made a lot of great friends. Shout out to Glenn Bentley. Glenn Bentley is a star. Well, everybody, listen. Today, our topic is, should there be certain criteria for presidents? And so and we want to say hello to everybody. Hello to AC Cruz and Carrie and Elvira, Robert, uh, Valenzuela, he's here. My good friend Robert. So many different people that are on, because today is an important show. We have calls coming in. Hold on one second. And anyway, but we have a really important show. As you know, we're coming up on a very, very important election. And people are wondering, how should we look at all of this stuff that's going on? And the question is, should there be some serious criteria to become president? And so, and I know Gina, she's a big researcher. And so when I threw this topic out there, she lit up like a light bulb. Boop. And so the whole key, I know. And so, look, everybody, we have some important issues to tackle. I mean, this is not a joke. This is some very, very serious stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I think
Can you hear me? I lost you. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to keep chatting while Nina does that. Well, as you know, everybody, we have some facts here. Oh, and I also want to let you know.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You sound loud and clear. I got some exciting announcement. I'm going to break it first here on the This Way Network. I will be the news reporter for 90.3 FM Radio Suerte. So I'm going to start going live every evening around 6 o'clock, and I'm going to do a news report on a local radio station here in Southern California. So big shout out to everybody. And if you can't hear it, if you're not here in Southern California, you can go online to Radio Suerte 90.3 and you'll hear moi. And I'll be doing, local reports, and wish me well, pray for me. It's an important step forward and a huge opportunity being on air in the LA market. So pretty excited about that. But here we go, everybody. We've been talking about this. Should there be certain criteria to be president? And so drum roll, please. Well, we're looking at our two candidates right now that are running, and that is Biden and Trump. Mm-hmm. Biden is 81 years old. Donald Trump is 78. So some people are saying, there should be age limits. Nina, what do you think?
Well, there actually is an age requirement in the Constitution. So we do have some criteria in place already. So let me tell you what it is. I think it's pretty limited. So let me just read you what the Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the Constitution says. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible for the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years, and between 14 years a resident within the United States. Pardon me, not between, and been 14 years a resident within the United States. So the criteria basically is they have to be a natural-born citizen, and that doesn't mean they can't have ever been born in another country. As long as they're citizens of the United States, when they were born in another country, they're considered natural-born citizens. And obviously, people who were born here natively are natural-born citizens.
Of course.
Unless their parents were considered citizens of another country and they were visiting here while they were when they were born. And then they have to be at least 35 years old. And they have to have resided in the United States for at least the previous 14 years. That's all the requirement there is at the moment.
Now, let's look at this, Nina. When you start talking about positions of presidents, some people are saying we need youth on our side because, and I, and I'm just listening to both sides of this thing. I'm like, go Trump, go Biden, go Trump, go Biden. I mean, I'm a little confused here, everybody, because the reality of it is there's certain key points that they are hitting. Like, for an example, looking at Biden and one of the things that he's pushing for, he actually had pushed for $200 billion to go into schools for better health and safety precautions. That's one thing. On the other hand, Trump was saying he wanted schools to follow their own safety policies. Biden was wanting to have student loan forgiveness. Trump wanted to put more money into vocational trades. Speaking of vocational trades, big shout out to Nicholas Dibbs. He's running for the 1st District here in Garden Grove, California, and he's fighting to keep all of these shop classes open. Especially, they had 2 wood shops, and he had went to the school board, and they were saying that they were not going to close them, and they did. And he had this huge campaign of why he had a petition from parents who wanted to keep them open. And it's really sad because I don't understand why tech and vocation cannot coexist. That is the problem. It's not one or the other. There should be a blending of tech opportunities for youth in school and vocation. Some kids are just techie. Some kids are hands-on, and they are great. You know what? I've been a part of something out here in California called Skills USA. I'm going to bring one of the top executives on the This Way Network. Plan for it because I'm going to get them. They're going to be on, and it is so incredible. They would have 5,000 kids at an event. They have it at the Anaheim Convention Center. They have the Ontario Convention Center. They have students that come from all around the country, and they are competing. And they have all these skills. These kids are welding. These kids are doing electrical. These kids are doing woodworking and framing. And I mean, the teachers are standing back, the instructors, there's wood laying on the floor, and they like, go. And them kids will start grabbing wood, and people yelling, and they're measuring stuff, and they're cutting and nailing, and they stand a whole wall up. And then the real professional inspectors come around, they check, make sure stuff is right, and they grade them. I mean, incredible. You talk about impressive to see young people. I'm talking about young, like elementary school, high school kids just doing incredible work. Nicholas Dibbs told me, and he informed me that for every person with a vocational trade, be it plumber, electrician, woodworker, automotive technician, for everyone that retires, there is a hole of two. So they're having, it's like the bigger the retirement age is, and most people think about this, people, when you have a repair guy or repair woman come to your house, how old are they? They are mature. They've been in the industry maybe 20 some years. When these people retire, who's going to come to your home to repair things? Mm-hmm. And they're not going to have Roberto the robot come knock on your door. Hi, I'm Mr. Robot. Take me to your refrigerator. That's not going to happen. So that's going to be a big problem, folks.
Well, and it used to be that men and women both could actually learn to make simple repairs themselves, actually do a little bit of plumbing, right, and repair some things in the home, because the technology we had was much simpler at the time.
That's right.
And you could figure out some of those things. Now, with things being computerized, your refrigerator being computerized, and some people, even their plumbing has a computer element to it, your car is computerized. It is not so easy to learn enough about every little thing to be able to do something in each area. So
you're absolutely right.
We really need those professionals, those people who have entered into the trade and learned it.
You know what? My friend, I have a friend, her name is, she's an actress. She's out here in California, and her name is Elaine Ballas. Check this out. She's an older lady in her 60s, not older, just mature. There we go. Put it that way. And all of the apps on your phone, all of these preset apps, check this out. She had a problem with her phone. She went to her phone company and she told her carrier, hey, listen, something's not right. Some guy at her place deleted or hit something and wiped out the presets of the apps. You know, when you buy your phone, you already have all this stuff loaded.
Yes.
It went blank. He couldn't put it back. So he told her, you're going to have to take your phone to the Samsung store. That is 25 miles away. So that's going to cost her a 50-mile round trip to go in to have the presets put back on her cell phone because of someone else's mistake. See, I mean, I believe in technology, but the problem is, you know what? I was talking to a mechanic at a shop. I took my car in, they were checking on something, and the guy says, I hate these new cars. And he popped the hood, and you stand there and you look, and he goes, you can't get to anything. He goes, it is so problematic. He goes, man, whenever I see one of the older cars, he goes, I get so happy because you can get in, you can see stuff. And I'm like, and it's like
they made them in the way so you could work on them. But now you take your car there, and what used to be a simple repair, what should be a simple repair.
That's right.
Being $900 just for the labor, because it takes so much time to take everything apart just to get to something.
And I want some of the viewers out there to chime in on this. Also, too, my dear friend Elvira, she was back in Poland, and she told me she recently had a problem with her water heater. And so she had to bring a technician in to fix it and do some things and stuff like that. And you hear these stories about, I remember my dad, he always repaired things. My dad, I never saw a repair guy at our house. I never saw a plumber, never saw an electrician. My dad would just do everything. I was like, I thought he was Superman, which he is. He's still my Superman. Daddy's 90 years old. God bless you, Daddy. I love you. And he's everything to me because that made me the man that I am. But the point is, what do you think about this, Nina? I'm going to throw a zinger at you. electric cars or gas cars?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So I know there is a lot of debate on this back and forth. I do see some value in electric cars, but I think they're impractical for a lot of reasons. One of them being that we don't have enough electricities for the electric stations to. I just read an article today, this morning, that said 2 out of every 3 of the electric stations where you go and you plug in your car to charge it, the charging stations.
Yep.
2 out of every 3 of the owners of those say we can't get enough electricity for our charging stations. So it takes more electricity to charge the car than it does to run your entire house for a month. So that right there, it's like, okay, now wait a minute, this is not a good use of energy. And then there's the problem with what to do with the battery afterwards. When it finally gives out, and it eventually will, it's not something that you can just get rid of, easily, and it weighs a ton of money. Working on them is difficult. And not only that, but mining what they need to get the parts to go in. There's been a problem with, the labor who's being used for labor in some countries where we're getting that. It's child labor that is working in the mines to get that. So all of it together, I'm like, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay. Carrie says gas. I see one of our people said Carrie. Big shout out to Robert, who's listening from Riverside, California. Thank you, Robert. And we've got people listening. And you know what? Our wonderful Jacqueline Edwards said, young people back in the day learned trades from their father or someone who would teach. And blacks were taught by people who knew how important it was. Okay, true. Okay, that's good stuff. And then technology is great. Jacqueline doubled down. Technology is great. Only as good as the person who designs them. Teach your children how to do for themselves. They will succeed. Thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline. She's chiming in. And with age is experience. And I have to tell you, I know for a fact, my dad, I was around watching my dad very close. And I watched my dear mom, too, in the kitchen. That's why I love you. Oh, that's you. Okay. Yep, no problem. So, but let me jump back into my notes here. Okay. So, when you're looking at Biden and Trump, I kind of wish these guys could get together. I wish there could be a blending of both of these guys, seriously, because, but I guess that's the crazy part between Democrats and Republicans. They both have some valid points on both sides, and some of them are straight cuckoo on the other side. But but
really the topic about what the criteria should be for candidates for president really doesn't have anything to do with Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or independent. It just really has to do with what makes sense for us. Why do you think the framers didn't give any more criteria than what they did? Because I'm sure there's no doubt about it. I've read my history. They had some crazies back then in their time. Why do you think this was the only limitations that they gave?
Because I don't think that they ever thought beyond what they had at that time. They had no clue that we would have such a boom in technology, because they knew there were certain things, and it's very remarkable. They said that back in the 1900s, they had electric cars. They had electric vehicles back in the 1900s. They really did. And so technology's been around. Chloe says, I drive a Prius, hybrid, gas, and electric. I love it. So there you go. There is a blending of technology. And Carrie says they would get right before they jammed down. Okay. So he's just talking about.
If they get it right before they jammed it down our throats, I would agree with it more. That's another thing. I think they kind of launched it and tried to force it into the the fabric of our lives before it was really ready for that.
Well,
So,
I'm gonna hope to get, maybe Elon Musk on. Man, wouldn't it be great if we got Elon Musk on? We're gonna try. We're gonna try to get Elon on.
hey, go for it. I would love to have Elon Musk on here.
Listen, you are watching the This Way Network. You are watching the chat session. I'm Rodney Allen Rippey. This is my wonderful co-host Nina. And you know what? It is very possible. It is very possible for us to get people of that caliber. And I'm really hoping, because the conversation is real. I mean, because we have some things that are going on, and again, we're looking at these candidates right now, and I'm trying to kind of weigh out, because everybody's like, what's going to happen, because what is going to happen at this next election is going to be very pivotal for our nation. Do you
Yes.
not agree? Yeah.
Yes, I do agree.
Okay.
And Rodney, when you said that about our founding fathers had no idea what the future was going to hold, and I think that is true.
Right.
I think the fundamental thing they did know, and really all we need to know right now, is what human nature is. What human nature is in people. I think regardless of what kind of technology we have or what communication is like today, what they trusted was an American electorate to have common sense, to be able to look at, in other words, you might have a candidate who's, past his prime,
Right.
and they trusted that the American electorate would be able to understand that, to recognize it, and act accordingly, or that they might have somebody else who, was had shown by his actions already that he's not a good candidate.
Right.
And they trusted the American electorate to know that and act accordingly. And the reason they did that was, and this is a quote from one of our founding fathers. He said, it was an imperative that the electorate be informed. And that's why the press was so important. So see, Rodney, the job you're about to do is so important. He said, because the American public cannot make these kind of decisions if they aren't properly informed. So that's what.
But right now,
yeah.
But Nina, right now, common sense is not so common. You look at people and you start talking to people and you go, have you lost your mind? I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, and I'm thinking, like, am I old fashioned, or am I stable, or am I behind the times and crazy? I'm like, but you know what? I know me, and trust me, I have no doubt in my mind. I'm like, when you hear someone talking, I'm like, that just doesn't sound good for the populace, for the overall populace of society. There's certain things. I mean, we can dig deep into some of the things that are going on in education and things like that. And so anyway, looking at it,
I feel like a lot of the reason that so much of this craziness is going on is that we lost our free press.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened. A lot of the press in this country is literally being paid and in the back pocket of one side or the other. And therefore, you're getting the press is spouting and supporting whatever that side is saying.
Well,
and
I have
crazy it is, because that's who's paying their, keeping them afloat.
Well,
we
let
need
me tell you
a free
something.
press that is going to tell us the truth and not be beholden to any side.
Well, you know what? I have to get it right. I had the experience of being in Washington, D.C., and I almost became a Voice of America correspondent. And believe it or not, the United States government, some people know this, some people don't, the United States has its own media. And I mean, it is powerful. And and I was walking the halls of the Voice of America building in Washington, D.C. I mean, right by the Capitol. And I mean, you walk down these walls, and they had a huge paragraph on the wall, and it said, "We are not beholden to any state-run media." It said this in huge black block letters on the wall. And then I was like, wow. I mean, it literally gave you goosebumps to feel like that this was the epicenter of the Voice of America. That's why they call it VOA. They changed the name now. It's not Voice of America, it's B broadcast something. Is so if you Google it, people, for you who don't know about VOA, look up Voice of America, and they have recently changed their name. But I would love to tap into them too, and hopefully be able to have the This Way Network have some kind of. They probably wouldn't want to. They probably wouldn't want to partner with us, but you never know if they could. But there's some serious information that comes to that. Now, on my notes here, one of the things that I did want to talk about was, when you start talking about, again, Biden and Trump, Biden, he had doubled federal funds for tech and vocational, and Trump was, no, I think I had that backwards. But anyway, they wanted free community college. I think it was Biden that wanted free community college too. And so, we
I think probably the biggest difference between the two candidates is that one really believes that government needs to be more involved in people's lives, and the other believes that government needs to keep their hands off and let people run their own lives.
That's right.
So I think that's probably the biggest, and that fuels all the, the positions they take on different things.
Well, Carrie says evil is trying to take over. And Miss Carrie Edwards, she says voting is designed to make a choice, teach children truth, and explore all options. Wow, that's very powerful. And what is my pal Robert says, we don't need more politicians and leadership. We need more leadership and politicians.
Amen.
Boom. Mic drop. There you go.
Have statesmen. That's what we called them. People who were, they believed in doing what was best for the country, regardless of whether it was popular or not, regardless of what it might cost them politically. And we called them statesmen, not politicians. You almost never hear that phrase or that term anymore applied because we see it so little anymore. We all have the feeling that the politicians, so many of the politicians who are out there, while they might be wanting to do good things for the country, at the same time, they are so much in the pocket of whatever their party is, that they're not going to stand up for what they believe is right. They'll just toe the party line. And I think Americans are getting more and more fed up with both, well, not just both, but all parties.
Question. Our wonderful guest, K. Carl, who comes on, we got to get him back on. K. Carl is the man. He was saying we should vote, and this is going to scare a lot of folks, purely on our spiritual conviction. What do you think about that?
I completely agree. And I think a lot of us don't do that. If we didn't look at the candidate, we just looked at, if you went on the party's website and you said, okay, where's the party platform? And you read what it was. And you didn't know which party it was. You just read the platform. It's like, can I agree with that or not? And if I don't agree with that, then I shouldn't vote for that candidate. Now let me find out who that party is. Now let me find out who that candidate is. That's part of what we should be thinking. I'm not saying that we don't ever consider the candidates themselves, their character, their integrity. Of course we should. But I think we should be looking at the platform first, and then looking at the candidate and their integrity, and, not the other way around, because regardless of how much integrity they might have, if they are supporting a platform that you cannot embrace because of your convictions, then why are you voting for them?
You know, I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this, because one of the things is, you know, America, right on our dollar bill it says "In God We Trust," and we were the nation of spiritual freedom, and we had those morals and those values and things, and it seems that the further we get away from that, the greater the problems are. And it seems that we are losing our nation because we're losing our moral and our compass from the biblical perspective. Now here's another thing. People say, well, America is a Christian nation. Well, some of the things that our American government allowed way back in the day wasn't very Christian. So now people go, well, that wasn't very Christian. And so, we have to kind of pull all this stuff back together. And I think one of the greatest things that's happening, people want to turn a blind eye to certain things. Like, here's an example. Maybe I'm wrong. I might get put on the stake for this, but a lot of people say things like the Confederate statues, for an example. I understand it's history, and some people say take them down. Some people say leave them up. Okay, I got that, but there needs to be something in the middle, because some of these decisions that were made back in the time, people back in the day would say, hey, yeah, we need to own people. We need to put these boys out in the field and let them work. And if you don't work, I'm going to beat you and all this other stuff. The issue with that is, how come they don't put, in my opinion, this is my opinion, leave the Confederate statues up, leave them up. But they need to put a brass placard right out there that says, we, the United States of America, thought at the time this was the way to do things. As we have developed and we understand now, these decisions weren't so bright. And we stand as one. We now understand, and these type of things will never happen again. This man was great in his own right for doing what he did. However, we, the United States of America, we stand against any type of discrimination, enslavement of folk, and encroachment of people's rights. Mm-hmm. Then I think people would say, well, okay, but see, when you leave a monument up there with no explanation, some people go, doggone it, we need to bring that back again. we would have some serious problems, because there are certain people who say it will never happen again, because there would be a bloodbath. And I'm thinking, like, well, how do we and again, there's a lot of people who say, like the governor down there in Florida, he's trying to stand in the way of certain types of study about history. Look, if we want truth, let all the truth out, not part of the truth, let all of it out. Hey, bring the Confederates out. Let the Confederates talk about everything they did, why they did it, the necessity of it at the time. Great, okay. But we also need to bring out the injustices that happened to African Americans. There were people who, like I said, there were people who own land rightfully. They hold deeds. And at some point, these people walk in and say, get out of here, and took their land. And now they done built factories and schools and cities on this land. Trillions of dollars in generational wealth has been ripped away from people who properly own it. Mm-hmm. And there has never been any justification. Am I saying that there should be, what do you call it, reparations? I think if the United States government started paying reparations, it would bankrupt us. So I know that they ain't gonna never let that happen. I understand that. However, there does need to be some justice and honesty. No lie. You put the deed out there. Did you own that land? Oh, man, yeah, we did take that guy's land. Ooh, what is the value of this land? $300 million. okay, we can't give them 300 million. Can we give you 30 million? Because we do owe you that. You know, that would start to kind of balance out some of the injustices that have taken place. And I understand, but what
Yeah,
do you do?
my biggest hesitation with that is
Mhm.
how you would decide who gets it and how much they get.
You look at the deed. If a person has a deed of land and they owned it, and somebody said, "Get off that land," and made them leave all their belongings, cows, horses, trailers, wash pails, get off the land, and these people have
You know
taken
what?
the land.
A lot of the people who had the deed actually that the government had taken the land away from people who were already living on it, made them go away, and then said, "Oh, now we're going to start giving these deeds out as like a reward to people who fought in our wars." And therefore the property goes to them or to people who we just want them to go settle this area so that it will be ours and not belong to the Native Americans who had been here before. So there's just so much convoluted here. I think
You
there's
need truth.
and this is across, I think this is across the entire world. What
Well,
we're seeing.
I don't. I listen. I can't help what's happening across the world. I think that we
True.
need to start right
True.
here at home. And
I'm just
we
trying
need
to
have-
point out that we're not unique.
No,
in
of
this.
course, yeah. Oh, it's bad all
Yeah,
around
we're
the
not
world.
unique in this. But
Yes.
when I look at what has been going on right here,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of beautiful history, but there's a lot of terrible history in
Yes,
this
and
country.
we need to teach it. Listen, I think
We
that
do need to teach
we
it.
need listen.
Yes.
We need to teach because they talk about what is it? They talk about what is it? They talk about certain people says I don't want to traumatize my child. I don't want them to go through this. It is education. And I really believe that there needs to be a delicate way to tell this. And we need to say, hey, look, we need to tell all the truth and let creative mind, let young minds, let people reflect and look at this thing and go, we can't have anything like this again. This is wrong. It was wrong then. It is wrong now. It'll be wrong in the future. So we can never repeat this. So the United States government needs to lay down law to say things like this will never happen. If you hold a dang on deed of land, doggone it, you own it. We're sorry. And if there is eminent domain and they need that land for something, they gotta pay top dollar market price for it. Because
I do agree it should be top dollar.
yeah,
And
yeah, it
now
needs
it's
to be.
not. Too often it's not.
So
But the other thing is, and someone just made a comment.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we do need to watch that.
Was saying, how did we get Alaska? And
Right.
how did we get Texas? If we returned all the land back to where it originally was before the United States government took it, Texas would still be part of Mexico. And now Alaska, we did pay from Russia, but we certainly didn't pay top dollar for it.
Well, and see, Nina, Chloe said, I recently heard someone say you cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat. She says she agrees. Here's the point. I believe, let's go back to some core common sense. Again, there are certain people who say, let people make choice for themselves. There are people who literally believe we should legalize drugs, all of them, crack, cocaine, make it wide open market. Some people say there'd be a benefit to that because it'd be a free market. Some people literally said there will be a free market. Look at what they've done with marijuana. Once they've rescheduled that, it stopped being a crime. People use it recreationally. I'm not no advocate for it, but I do believe in medicinal use of marijuana because it is far better than the toxic pills that doctors prescribe people. So if someone has pain, I'm like, listen, I think that we should weigh out. They really should put the benefits and the damaging effects of both these pills. They say, hey, if you take these pills for long term, yeah, it could ruin your kidneys. It could ruin. I mean, there are pills that you could take that really do some serious damage to the body, and you're just trying to medicate to take care of whatever problem you have. And then they could say there is this natural substance that you could partake, smoke, and it would help ease your anxiety and things like that. But the problem is there are people who are medicating who really don't need it. They just smoking because they want to be high. Me personally, I don't care if there was a Dipsy dumpster of crack, fentanyl, and marijuana outside my door. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it because I'm like, I have never seen anyone get on drugs and they become more beautiful. They become smarter. They have less troubles in life. True. People who get on drugs, it's and then on top of that, I know from just looking at what I've seen over and over and over again, I'm like, these things are demonic. And here's another thing. I heard a pastor speak about alcohol, and he did this sermon, and he said something, and the light bulb was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I hadn't heard it before. What is another name for alcohol? You ready? Spirit.
Spirits. There you go. Yeah.
And I said, and that pastor was talking, he says, there is spirit in this bottle. And he started talking about that. And the more he talked about that, I saw the correlation. There are spirits bottled up in this. And if you put those spirits inside you, it ain't going to be long before you start to see the power of those spirits fighting against your logic, against your motor skills. Mm-hmm. You can't walk a straight line. You can't think logically. Some people, you know, I ain't gonna lie. I have had, you know, Lord said do everything in moderation. I've had a beer once in a while. However, but when you start getting to the point where it is out of control, now you've got a problem. And the thing is, how do you do that? How do you do that? And again, so now we have that impasse. Where do you call it and say, hey, I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that? And some people, and that's a question. You have a nice pizza, you have one thing of beer, 1 cup of beer with pizza. Is that a bad thing? Am I a bad Christian? What do you say, Nina? Come on, throw it on me.
Well, Jesus drank wine.
Thank you, Jesus.
So, you know, I don't think, I'm certainly not going to be pointing fingers at people who are drinking alcohol, because I can't point fingers at Jesus either. If he did it, then, you know, but the Bible does say, do not be drunk with wine.
Right.
So everything in moderation, nothing in excess,
right,
I think is a good way to go. But the point to me is every single thing that we have has some benefits to it.
Right.
And it can be abused.
Right.
And there is no way that we should be saying of anything, well, therefore, this is going to be illegal because too many people have been abusing it. But too many people abuse sugar, but we're not going to say you can't have that. Too many people have used knives to stab other people. More people are stabbed every year in the United States than are shot with guns. But you don't see us saying, oh, well, we have to outlaw knives then. Of course not. That would be ridiculous, because there's a benefit to knives that we all have. And
I can tell you a crazy story. I was in high school in North Carolina back in the late 80s. I remember going to Southeast Guilford High School in North Carolina. My folks moved in 1980. So I'm in school, and I started noticing guys walking down the hallway with buck knives in a sleeve on there. And I was from California. And I asked a friend of mine, I said, did you see that guy with that big old buck knife on his side? They go, oh, Rodney, it ain't no big thing. Everybody, I'm like, but what if that guy decided to pull that thing out? I told people, I said, man, that would never fly in California. You couldn't walk down the hallway with no freaking buck knife on you. You couldn't. And my buddy was like, oh, man, ain't no big deal, Rippy. Sure enough, I was coming down the hallway, and it wasn't any type of racial thing. It was a white guy and another white guy were walking down the hallway, and something happened, and somebody said something, and I was standing right there. That dude hit that snap on that sleeve, and he pulled that thing out, and he put the country on. Come on, boy, I'm gonna gut you. And he said that, and everybody's seen it. And the teacher came out. He had that buck knife out. I was standing right there when it happened, and she was like, the teacher started screaming, put that away, put that away. That thing went to the principal. Before you know it, it hit the Guilford County School Board, and they outlawed buck knives. Nobody could have any kind of knife on. I was standing right there when it happened, and I said, aha. And I told my friends, I said, didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you that was not a good idea? Going back to the whole Dipsy dumpster of crack and fentanyl and everything outside, if there was a Dipsy dumpster of that garbage outside, my point that I'm trying to make is there needs to be Christian sound mind logic to say, oh my God, they said if I just touched that fentanyl, I could overdose or I could die from this stuff. Why do we not have some massive campaign to make people understand this stuff is nothing to play with? This stuff is nothing to try. You can try it one time. Say, do you know how many people said, I'm just going to try. I just want to feel it. And it's all over, dead, death. And Satan is just, just try it. Just try it. It ain't going to hurt you. And give it to your friend. And you mess around and you give it. And see, this is one thing about drugs that I've always told people. The thing about drugs, there are certain people who can do drugs and just, you don't even know. They're doing drugs and they're very functional. They can keep their life together. There are certain people, you give certain people anything, alcohol, you turn them on and they are on the downhill slope. There are certain people that they can't try things because it takes them over, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is, there are certain people who say, oh, make it wide open, take the marketplace out of it, and so then all the drug dealers will go, oh my goodness, we're out of business because now you can buy this stuff anywhere. But would that be good for society? Might be great for capitalism, but the whole bottom line is, again, going back to common sense, many people don't have common sense. And who are we to judge to say, well, that's not common sense? Some people go, yeah, I can smoke crack and go to work. I want to smoke crack and I want to go to work. Oh my goodness. I'm like, we have lost our company.
Yeah, but what happens if they smoke crack and go to work? Inevitably, they get fired. So there's
what if they kill somebody on the way to work? That's the point.
That may be true. That may be true.
Even here, and I'm going to tell you honestly, this is the honest truth. I'm on the freeway out here in Southern California, and you're riding. It's 100-degree weather. You might have your window cracked. It is nothing for you to get a big old whiff of marijuana.
I don't doubt it.
And
I'm going to point out, Rodney, there's already laws on the books about driving impaired. So and that's the thing. It's not a question of, we just ban something altogether. We try to get rid of the evil, what we consider evil, because usually in all of those things, there's some measure of good that now we're saying, okay, we're denying ourselves any measure of good out of that because we're trying to eliminate the evil that people do with it. But the
Right.
middle road is, it's not either no, we're going to have, it's going to be, freely available to everybody and they can do whatever they want to.
Right.
That's
Right.
chaos. That's anarchy. But the
Right.
other side is having people so fearful that they make so many laws and regulations that you're in a tight box and you cannot partake of the good things. So the middle road is actually a measure of regulation that says, okay, yes, you can drink, but not drink and drive. Because if we catch you, you're going to get a ticket, or you're going to go to jail, or you're going to have a
Right.
fine. We're
And
going to let you know you can't do these things, but we're not going to outlaw alcohol outright. We're not going to outlaw knives, but we're going to say if you stab someone, or if you take out that knife and you threaten someone with it, that's against the law. So go to jail for that. That's the regulations.
I understand that, but the thing that I have my degree in marketing and advertising. I went to school for that, and I'm sitting here going, there are so many opportunities that are just not being capitalized on, and they need to have more PSA, public service announcements, to let people know. Say yes, marijuana is legal in the state of California, but please be careful. Don't do it, because driving impaired is a problem. I don't hear these campaigns.
I think it was in Colorado the very first year after they legalized marijuana, and so many shops were set up where people could go and buy it and use it recreationally. And the number of accidents skyrocketed in the next year, and fatalities from and there was a lot of innocent fallout from that. So again, okay, you removed all the regulations now, and now people are suffering for it. So maybe you need to come back to a place of a measure of regulation, but not saying marijuana is illegal, because it does have medicinal value. If we say it's totally illegal and we ban it, then people can't get any good use out of it.
Right. And trust me, I am a true advocate for medicinal marijuana use for people who need it, people who are in pain, people have anxiety, PTSD. I believe in that. But when you start talking about just the recreational fun side of it, people are like, oh, now you're a party pooper. I'm like, well, and I'm trying not to be, I'm not a party pooper, but the whole thing is I start, we have to look at the damaging effects of it. And again, what some people, we have to look at the long-term effects. And like I said, marijuana today is not the marijuana from the 70s, because now it is a beast. The things that I've heard about it, I'm like, so it'll do it. It's that powerful, and you hear people go, "Oh yeah," and then they say they have certain strains of marijuana that if you are a person and you're depressed, it'll make you happy. If you're a person and you can't sleep, there's another strain that'll put you to sleep. If you're always sleepy, so somebody call Biden Sleepy Joe. Maybe he needs a little pep. I don't know, but I don't think that would be good. That would be another thing. Is there anything on the books that say that you can't be, convicted of any, to be a president? Think about that. Yeah, but anyway, I'm just going through some of these wonderful comments, and it says, how come, okay, here we go. This would be, who is this? This was Jacqueline says, how come people on the Mayflower live in Chesterfield, Massachusetts? Okay. I don't get that. Okay. Plymouth. Oh, that was so far from Plymouth. Okay, I got it. So she was asking that question. But, we have to really, Nina, I think this has been a great topic. It really has been. And I'm hoping that everybody understands where we're going with this. The topic for today, should there be more considered criteria. Yeah.
And so, you did ask me a question which I hadn't answered yet. So let me do that right here at the end of the program. Okay. You asked, should there be an age limit for our candidates? And my response to that is no, I don't think so. And the
Okay.
reason for that is, yes, people are at the end of their lives, they're more likely to have dementia than at other times in their lives. But you and I both know people can start getting early onset dementia in their 50s.
They certainly
So
can.
having that, saying no, we have to have this age limit is not going to prevent us from having candidates who have dementia. And it might keep us from having candidates who have no dementia, but a lot of wisdom
And I'm
because
gonna,
of their
right.
age.
And I'm
So,
gonna, I pray not for the people who have been subject to, have been involved with drugs and stuff like that. But in my opinion, the reason why I've been petrified and stayed away from drugs and stuff like that, you already degenerate. That's just a part of life. The older you get, I believe that there's going to be a massive problem of people with neurological problems in this new generation. People who are excessively abusing things, whatever it is, that thing's going to have an effect down the road. And I know people now that were 70s babies and 60s babies, and they partied and they did things, and it's sad. I mean, I've lost so many different people, and so, but the effects of our decisions are very serious, and I hope that we can make sound decisions for our communities and everyone. And like I said, we're gonna dig deep into it. Nina, this has been a great show. We're at the end, and everybody, thank you for hanging in there with us and having a good show with us.
really
Thanks
do
for all your
appreciate it.
comments.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Rodney, congratulations on the new job that you're going to be starting. I'm looking forward to actually hearing you on air. I don't know if I'll hear it here, but
Oh
I'm
yeah,
excited.
you will. You can listen to it anywhere in the world. It's going to be, they have a streaming arm, but there's a local broadcast here in Southern California, 90.3 FM, Radio Suerte, and I'm going to be doing the news report on the party train. So it should be pretty fun. I'm just something new, a new opportunity that came my way. So I feel blessed. Thank you, Lord. But I do want to be able to use this as a community resource and hopefully really dial into important information that the general community needs. And so wish me well. But I'll still be here with the chat session on the This Way Network. So there we go.
Thanks everybody for joining us today. And y'all, be of good courage. God is with us and we are not alone.
That's right.
Bye for now.
God bless. See you next Monday. Take care. Have a great week.